Righto, welcome to the first episode of, I think I'm going to call it Over a Beer with Kenny B, where I have a beer and talk to some interesting people about cool stuff they've been doing. So, yeah. Today I'm going the Yamundi Brewery Pale Ale. You're on the better beers, winning a tin, athlete's choice.
Jogging a can, winning the tin.
That's it. So I won't tell you what the time is, but it's okay to drink them for breakfast.
It's beer o'clock somewhere.
So I'm up here just north of Townsville at Broadwater National Park, just north of Ingham actually, and with James, who's been travelling around Australia for pretty much getting towards the end of the trip, so sort of 18 months on the road.
Yep.
So I guess what's the summary of your story, mate? So you're based in Melbourne, and what were you doing before the choice to do a big lap?
Trying to dodge lockdowns. So
It's a good reason to get out.
yeah, we've always been camping, loved doing high country trips and a few like longer extended trips through the Red Centre and stuff like that. And the worst part about being from somewhere at one end of the country is how long it takes to get to the other side. So we decided the only real way to see Australia and not be in such a mad rush was just to do the whole thing at once. So yeah, we decided after lockdown,
instead of going out and back,
out and back, you waste so many Ks and weeks and weeks driving.
Yep.
So we just decided to go after lockdown. That was it. We'd had enough. So packed up the house into a shipping container and jumped in the camper and headed off.
Yeah. And so what were you doing before that? So you were working for NBN, sort of communication sort of stuff?
Yep. So I'm a telecom technician by trade.
Yep.
And Alex worked at local ARB shop. So yeah, I've been doing that for 7 or 8 years, and Alex had been about the same in her job. And we just decided to pack up and see what we could find on the road.
And the reason for doing the lap, so like, I guess there's probably a couple of main reasons. I guess you just wanted to see Australia, or you're sick of working and just wanted to change of pace? Or
yeah, a little bit of a change of
both?
pace. I was kind of getting a little bit stale in the same old job, and we wanted to do some longer trips, but couldn't really justify taking 6 to 8 weeks off work to drive to the West Coast and then rush and then all get home again in time for work. So the easiest way to do it was to try and save up a bit of money, see it all, and then work along the road to top up the funds. Yeah,
awesome. Right, we'll dive into the work bit in a sec. I guess the trip so far, so 18 months on the road, you've obviously been a fair few places now.
Yeah.
I'll probably throw it up on the screen if you give me that screenshot, which shows where you've been, but just in basic direction, I guess, where'd you go? You went?
So we took off from Melbourne and headed pretty much straight west. We had committed to a job in Perth before we left home. So I was working for a mate when we got there. Committed to a job at the start of April, and we left at the start of March. So we pretty much bootlegged across there through South Australia, along the Murray for a little while, and then dropped down to the coast on the other side of like Port Lincoln. Followed the coast all the way along to the Nullarbor, down to Esperance in WA, followed the coast along there, and then made our way up to Perth and stopped there for just over a month.
Yep.
And then once we left Perth, pretty much hugged the coastline all the way up till Exmouth, and then dusted the knee, got knee dirty, and proposed to Alex at Exmouth.
That'd be a nice picturesque spot to do it.
Yeah, it was pretty good actually. We met some other travelling families there, and they actually got captured all on drone for us, so
nice.
That made a pretty cool video.
Awesome.
And then we had inland, went to Karajini, back to the coast at Broome, and picked up some more work on a cattle station not too far from there, and then across the Gibb River Road up to Darwin, and then right down the middle through the Red Centre, picked up some more work at a sheep station in South Australia, and then back down to Victoria over Christmas, just to try and avoid some of the battling for camp spots on school holidays. And then we did Tassie over summer, so January, February sort of thing, a month and a bit over there. And then we've made our way back along the Victorian coast, heading east, and then up New South Wales, and then sort of zigzagged a bit from the coast and ended up on a big cotton farm an hour and a half west of Goondiwindi. And then we've made our way through outback Queensland, out as far as Longreach and Winton, and then zigzagged, the dinosaur stuff, and then zigzagged our way back to Cairns and just did Cape York, and now we're on our way south.
Good stuff. So you sort of did a big pretzel shape of Australia, so that's quite a few Ks. How many Ks do you reckon so far?
So far it's been about 45, 50,000.
Nice.
Somewhere around there. And by the time we get home, it'll be nudging towards that 55
Yep.
plus.
Yeah, okay. And that probably leads us in kilometres. So vehicle set up for the trip. So
Yeah.
you can see behind us there's $300,000 Mahindra.
Yeah.
79 series single cab. So probably, you know, one of the staple choices to do a lap. So
Yeah.
we just did a rig rundown thing on this in another video, so I'll put a card up here somewhere and a link down in the description if you want to check out detailed rundown of the canopy and the vehicle and that sort of stuff. But general overview, so obviously 79 series with the canopy,
Yep.
you know, basic setup for touring, boat motor and everything on the back, and then I don't think it's on camera, but over on the side there is a Trackabout, what is it? What do you call it? Trackabout side fold?
Yeah, Trackabout Explorer camper trailer.
Yep.
It's got the boat rack tilts off to one side, and then all the room and everything folds off to the passenger side of the camper, kitchen out the back. So
it looks like a pretty good setup, you know, instead of towing a huge van and having it be pretty cumbersome.
yeah, it's
Good size.
compact, it's good off-road, it's pretty lightweight. The whole thing weighed in at just over 1.5 tonne when we went across a weighbridge,
Yep.
fully loaded, so it doesn't really hold you up. Even we've taken it through some pretty crazy tracks in the high country, and
Yeah.
it's not like dragging a big boat anchor around.
Yeah, you could definitely get in more places and see more stuff without having to drop a caravan off and base it somewhere and worry about leaving
Yeah.
it somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Which then leads us into, so with this size setup, it's just yourself and your partner Alex, or fiance Alex, I should say.
Yep.
And at the start, doing trips with the dog as well, with Rambo. So
Yeah.
traveling with a dog obviously would vary, probably state to state a bit, where you can go with the dog and how easy that is. So
Yeah.
how'd you find that? I guess how much did you do with the dog, and then how much have you done now without the dog? And
So we did the first, I think it was 10 months with the dog.
Yeah.
So that's where our name Usandapup comes from. It's us and Rambo. We call him a pup, but he's about yay big. He's a German short-haired Point Across Great Dane.
yeah,
So
small horse, yeah.
yeah, it's a big dog, which even travelling with a small dog versus a big dog, that can change in a lot of places too, because a lot of people aren't scared of small dogs, or you can just stash a small dog away somewhere and people don't really notice, or
Yeah.
things like that. But we loved it. We loved having him with us. He was great fun. He encouraged you to go out and do walks and explore more places like that. But he had a real problem with travelling in the dog box.
Yeah.
So we cut the window out so he could stick his head out and get fresh air, which he loved, and the solar panels give plenty of shade in there. It was never hot or anything, but he just got a bit of like anxiety about travelling in there.
Yeah.
And he ended up barking at oncoming cars and crying whenever you'd come into towns because he was so excited thinking he was getting out.
Oh, yeah.
So he would just start crying uncontrollably.
Yeah, and it becomes stressful, I guess, if they're
Yeah.
not enjoying it.
More stress on him, and then we thought the more you try and push it on him, the less we're going to be likely to take him on trips in the future. So
Yeah.
Alex's mum and dad were really good. They are looking after him for us while we've done this part of the Tasmania and the Cape. So we're heading home, got to be home in about a month's time, and we'll
Yep.
pick him back up and take him home then.
Yeah, nice. I guess if you had a space cab or a dual cab, probably be a bit easier if he was in the back seat,
Yeah.
just closer to you instead of being separated, I guess, get that separation anxiety being in the dog box.
Yeah, back home, Alex has got like a little SUV wagon type of car, and he always rides in the back seat of that, and he's never had a drama. He happily sort of runs side to side, put his head out, and then 10 minutes later he'll just go to sleep.
Yeah.
Whereas in the dog box, for some reason, we can't work out why, he never even stuck his head inside and went to sleep. He always had his head out, no matter what, even in the rain. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But we love travelling with him, and there's a lot of places you can go, like especially with wiki camps. We use it all the time.
Yeah.
Every day we're on wiki camps, and you set the dog filter up so the places you can take
Oh,
dogs.
it only shows you those spots, yeah.
And then it's almost like putting your blinkers on. You don't really realise what you're missing if you don't see those spots to begin with. But that said, when we haven't had him with us this year, it has opened up a lot more camping options.
Yeah.
Definitely national parks and certain caravan parks and stuff like that. You can just go anywhere now, whereas with the dog, you have to be pretty picky.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely doesn't make it easy. You definitely limit yourself, probably 50% of places you can't go. Yeah. Well, I guess if people are going to travel with the dog, I guess you need to probably just know your dog, I guess, and do some test trips and get used to their anxiety level, I guess, and whether they travel all right or whether they don't. But
Yeah,
it's obviously different just doing a weekend with them than doing weeks and weeks and months on the road with them.
yeah, like we'd done camping trips with him before, and we knew he wasn't a huge fan of the dog box, but it was never that big of an issue before, and we thought he would just get used to it and get better, but he ended up just getting so much worse.
Yeah.
So, in fairness to him, and to make it easier for us, it was just the best thing to leave him at home.
Yeah. Righto, so been on the road for 18 months. Obviously, sort of main question for people is how do you make that work cash flow wise? So, did you save some money before you went, or you just decided to work along the road, or?
Yeah. A bit of column A, bit of column B. So, we saved our asses off for probably 4 or 5 years before we left. We kind of initially had the idea before COVID that one day we'd love to do the lap, and knew it was going to be expensive. And then once COVID happened, we sort of got locked down and just knuckled down and saved as much as we could during that time.
That would have been good to save money, wouldn't it? Like not being able to go anywhere, do anything, or do you just replace that with other hobbies and stuff?
You sort of replace it with a few other things, and then like cost of living's been going up pretty crazy.
True.
So we didn't save as much as we probably would have loved to, but we knew to make the trip last, we're going to have to work along the way anyway.
Yeah.
So picking up work on the road was just the only way to go for us.
Yeah. Did you have a bit of a budget of what you knew per day that it roughly cost you? Like if you drive for like 400 k's a day, it's going to cost roughly this much, and you're going to eat each day, food's probably this much, you just basic budget.
So there's heaps of good tools out there online for people planning laps like this.
Oh, yeah.
And there's actually a spreadsheet you can download. I'll send you the link for it.
Yeah.
But I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, I'll just throw it in the description,
Yeah, throw it in the description. But you basically plug in how many nights a month you think you're going to spend in a national park, free camp, caravan park, the average cost of diesel, how many Ks you think you're going to do for the whole lap, and then you plug in all your costs like your food, insurance, how much you want to spend eating out.
Yeah.
It's like this huge spreadsheet. It's actually really detailed.
Yeah, nice.
And it breaks it down into how much money you've got, and then how much it's going to cost you, and then like your deficit or cash flow sort of thing.
Yeah.
And if you're going to work on the road, you can put that in as well, what you expect to earn.
Yeah, I guess you could easily figure out if you start with some lump sum and then you know how far you're going to make it.
Yeah.
I guess it's like planning for retirement. If I retire at 55, I can live for 3 weeks or something with the cost of living these days. But, you sort of know when you might have to do something. So, you might get a month, 3 months, and then you need to build back up to a certain level and then get through the next bit. So
yeah, that's pretty much how we did it.
Yeah.
So we filled out that template and everything as best we could with what we knew we'd be spending, and then got on the road and pretty much double it.
Yeah.
It really didn't and it seems to happen to everybody that gets on the road. You get on the road for the first 3 or 4 weeks and there's little things you didn't realise you don't have, or you'll break something, or you want a more compact version of this or a better version of that, and the first couple of weeks there's a fair few trips to Bunnings or local BCF or whatever you find on the road. But once you settle into a routine, you can definitely reevaluate and knock out a pretty good budget.
Yeah. I think it's hard to plan for the unplanned. Like I think you mentioned in the vehicle video we did, front wheel bearings and that sort of stuff. You can't plan. You might have a couple of grand worth of costs that come up if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
So
like apart from all your general servicing on the road, which you can plan for.
Yeah.
We did front wheel bearings, swivel hubs and front brakes all at once, which was good to do it because they only had one lot of labour, but it was still like nearly 2.5 grand worth of repairs, which we didn't plan for. So
yeah, it knocks a chunk out of it.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you saved up some money before you went and you worked along the way. How did that actually end up? Like you're saying we'll double it.
Yeah.
Where'd you end up sort of price-wise to now?
Probably wasn't double the whole time, but it was definitely double in those first few weeks. So I think we saved up 30 odd grand before we left, somewhere between 30 and 40.
Yeah.
Most of that's gone now.
Yeah.
But working on the road, we've earned over each of the months. I track everything in an app. I'll tell you the name of the app. You can put that in the description too. Yeah. But yes, it's called Travel Spend, and I'll put every expense we've had in there, including our mortgage and insurance and everything back home. But you can separate those categories. So excluding all that, just our actual living expenses on the road, in 17 months we've spent about 85 grand.
Yeah.
Which is more than I thought it was going to be, but we've also earned probably a little bit more than I thought too.
Yeah.
So the job on the cotton farm was like $30 an hour, big hours.
Yeah. So it worked out.
And then the other station job paid fairly well, and we've earned about 60 grand over the journey. So
yeah, it makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, we've got a little bit left in savings to get us home, and a few moving expenses when we get there. We know we need to buy a few things for the house.
Yeah. And that amount of cost for over 2 years is probably not too bad, really.
No, it's not too bad.
That's achievable for most people.
Yeah.
If you've already set up with a basic rig and you don't need to buy a $120,000 cruiser and a camper trailer and everything to start off with, then it's not too crazy.
No, definitely and everyone else's setup varies. If you've got kids, it's going to cost more.
Double that
when we had
again.
the dog, it cost a little bit more. And now that he's staying with Alex's mum and dad, we're still paying for his food and everything too. We didn't want it to be a burden for them, so we're still paying for that stuff. But if you keep your house, you're going to have mortgage payments and rental expenses and stuff like that. If you sell your house, well, you've probably got a bit more money in the bank, but you've got to worry about keeping some aside to buy a house when you get home.
I think there's pros and cons with that. You got tenants in your house where you're going to go back and live. It's not just an investment property, so you got to worry about them trashing the house. Or then if you sell it, then you got to go back and find a house whenever you go back. So if you got family to stay with in the yard or something while you sort that out, it's probably all right. But if you don't, it's a bit tricky. And depending where you're from, if you go into places that got a real bad rental market or buyer's market where it's really competitive.
The property market determines so much of that, and it's a personal decision for everyone. So
I think both of them's not the right answer. Both has pros, both has cons. So
it's like there's no perfect setup,
No, just do the best you can do at the time and deal with it.
So we've still got our house. People have been living in it while we're away, and there's pros and cons to that. But we know what we're up against now, and cool. All right, that's a good insight into the costs. So on finding work, how do you find work going around? Is it mainly Facebook groups or websites or? Like we've both got the Seek app on our phones and we've had a look on there, but most companies hiring through Seek are sort of looking for someone to fill a hole in their career, like a permanent job, not so much a casual thing. And we found Facebook groups are the best thing. So we found all the station work through a page on Facebook which Alex uses called the Nanny and Governess Jobs Australia page, which is like mostly girls looking after kids on stations, doing their school of the air work and being a nanny for the ones that aren't school age yet. And then basically they've both taken me on as a station hand to go along with her doing that sort of role.
I guess they know that most of the time. There'll be some probably single women that want to do that sort of thing, but a lot would have partners probably. So I guess they're usually just used to that structure where if they want someone to do this, they've got to find something for old mate to do as well. And
I've always wanted to give station work a go. I thought it'd be really cool. What a better place to learn than in the Kimberley.
Absolutely.
So that was awesome. And then, the more experience you get, the easier it is to get your next job.
During the trip, I guess, is there a basic summary of the jobs you've done as you've moved around? Are they all pretty similar or various? Or
pretty varied. So when we went to Perth, I was working with a mate in a camper trailer caravan sort of workshop. They sell like Chinese brands of campers, but they come over here and get like refinished and
so like doing the final assembly and everything.
Final assembly and accessory fitting and stuff. Alex worked in a sports bar, like a local footy club had a pub sort of thing attached to it, and she worked there casual. Found that one through the local notice board on Facebook, I think. And then we went up to the Kimberley and I was working on the station, and it's funny, the nanny governess sort of job that was there for Alex kind of fell through when we got there. So she was working at the local shop in town. Just the station people knew the people that owned that, so lined that up for us. I've done a sheep station in South Australia, which Alex was the actual governess there, teaching kids with School of the Air. And then we both worked on a cotton farm, or cotton and cropping farm, about an hour and a half west of Goondiwindi, which was, I was driving the planter, putting in wheat and chickpea crops, and Alex was helping with the cotton harvesting, getting all the machines ready and other bits and pieces around the place.
Obviously that's fairly different to your normal job doing telecommunications sort of stuff. So I guess if you're half handy and you can, take instruction from someone, I guess there's someone there just shows you the ropes and send it and have a crack.
The agriculture industry, stations and big farms and stuff, they're really used to a rotating workforce all the time. They got casuals coming through, people come in for the busy season and then leave. So they were happy to take us on for a short-term thing. We're pretty honest, when we got there, we said, hey, this is what we want. We're looking for a month or 2 or 3 months of work at a time. And as long as you're upfront with people like that, they're generally pretty good about it.
Yeah, nice. Some good info there on how to find work and different stuff you can do. I guess that's probably the enticing bit as well, is go around and just see different country and do very different jobs as you go around. That's probably the cool bit.
The thing is, the pay varies a lot. So the cattle station in the Kimberley, they include your food, like we lived in a donga, and they have a chef full time because there's like 10, 15 people work there. So the cook makes you breakfast, you take your lunch to work, and then he makes you dinner as well.
Oh, yeah.
So that's all included, but the pay was fairly rubbish. It was like
Yeah.
$180 a day before tax.
Yeah.
And you're sort of working 12 to 14 hours a day, 14 days a fortnight. Like you might get 1 or 2 days off a month.
Yeah.
But because there's nowhere to really spend your money out there, you end up saving most of it anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So it wasn't too bad. But then
Yeah.
the next station we went to, we both got $300 a day each.
But have to supply your own stuff?
Still, they supplied us with the house.
Yeah.
And they gave us like lamb rations from whenever they'd get a killer
okay.
off the station or anything. We just had to get like groceries in Broken Hill.
Yeah.
So that was a couple $100 a fortnight sort of thing.
Yeah, that sounds...
So it was a lot
sounds
better.
better.
It was
Yeah.
pretty reasonable. And we only worked 10 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Ah, righto. Yep.
So
yeah,
it
that'd
was
be good.
a lot better.
And I guess on those groups, is there people... Do they talk about which ones are better ones to score than others, or they sort of cage that to themselves? So...
A lot of people try and keep it to themselves. I think
Yeah.
it's more sort of being polite and not wanting to burn bridges. Like,
Yeah.
if you got in there and rag out the place you used to work, they're probably not going to give you
Yeah.
a great name in the industry either.
So you're better off to meet people that have done it before and then talk to them privately
Yeah.
about how they went, and yeah. Which is why conversations like this are good, because, you know, your experience will save someone else potentially some headache along the way, and
Yeah.
yeah.
And like $180 a day sounds pretty rough, but I was a first year station hand with no experience. So,
Yeah.
you know, you're sort of out there with a bunch of young fellas, kids out of school and stuff like that, where that's not the worst wage in the world. And
Yeah, yeah.
it was a great learning curve, and I wouldn't take it back for a day. Like, it was awesome. I'd do it all again.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, cool. I was a heap of good info there in, you know, finding work and different types of jobs. So yeah, hopefully someone gets something out of that. Probably one of the best questions. So going around and going to so many different places, I guess they vary quite a bit. Did you have any top campsites or places you've stayed at during the trip? Yeah.
Everyone's favourite question is, where's your favourite place in Australia?
Yeah. They're all different, I think, though. You know, you'd have to pick
Yeah.
top 3, and they're all different reasons. And
Yeah, it's really hard. I would say on the west coast, James Price Point, which is like 45 odd minutes out of Broome. That's amazing. It's where you get like all mangroves and sort of scrub, and then bright red cliffs, like the red sandy cliffs, and then straight down onto a white beach,
yeah, nice.
and then just crystal blue water. Like, it's beautiful.
Yeah. And is that, you can just sort of free camp, or is it national park permit?
Yeah,
or?
that's free camp, and you're allowed dogs out there. It's not national
nice.
park.
Good stuff.
There's heaps of camping areas like along the top of the cliff, and
Yeah.
some like down on the beach and stuff like that. It was a beautiful spot.
Yeah. And obviously very different country from there. Like, this is why it's a problem picking top spots, because you could be in the Kimberleys, you could be up the Cape, which is similar but different, but then you could be in Tasmania or somewhere like that. You know, it's very, very different.
Our next favourite, I can't rank them in like, it's like picking a favourite child.
Oh, they're all good, but
I've got
just
like a
different.
top 5 that I probably can't split for different reasons, but James Price Point's always pretty close to the top of the list. A place called Devil's Hollow in Victoria, which is like in the high country. You're essentially camping on the edge of a cliff, but instead of looking out at like red and white beaches and water, you're just looking straight down the valley of...
Yeah.
It's like opposite Mount Hotham.
Oh, okay.
And it's high altitude. Like, it's basically the same altitude as the Hotham village.
Oh, yeah.
So that's pretty cool. And there was an awesome camp at Swimcut Beach in Tasmania, like Bay of Fires.
All right.
And I liken it to Esperance. You got beautiful like white sand and crystal blue water,
Yeah,
and
nice.
like the cool orange colours on the rocks and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It
nice.
was amazing. Good for drone footage.
Yeah, that's always good.
Yeah.
So they're all sort of coastal ones.
Yeah.
Probably question without notice too much. Is there any mint sort of inland ones?
Devil's Hollow's inland, like
That
in
is?
the high country.
Oh, right.
So that's like, up in the mountains sort of thing.
Yep. What's up like in the guts, like in the middle where there's usually nothing for hours, like up centre and
in the red centre.
NT.
On this trip, we didn't actually go there, but last time we did a red centre trip, we went and stayed at Boggy Hole, which is sort of near Palm Valley, off the Morini Loop, which is like your Alice Springs to Kings Canyon sort of dirt track out there.
Yeah.
It's like 4-drive access only, but it's not crazy off-roading. Like, we got in there, no worries. And
Righto.
yeah, it's kind of cool. You got like the red rock gorges sort of go down, and then white sand and river rocks and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like a dry riverbed. You essentially camp in there.
Yeah, nice. Awesome. So you're travelling around to so many different places. One of my favourite topics being that I review beers as a semi-professional alcoholic for a side gig. I had 2 questions people submitted on Instagram. Was have you stopped at any iconic pubs on your trip so far?
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
It's a funny culture with craft breweries popping up everywhere in Australia now, and it's almost like every major sort of tourist town has got the craft brewery and that draws people in.
Yeah.
And like you get somewhere and you'll ask locals, oh, where's a good place to go for lunch? Oh, I'll go down the brewery. And so I'm not huge into craft beer, but we've done like a tour of the breweries of Australia at this point. So the top ones would be Matzo's in Broome, famous for their ginger beer.
Beers, real good.
Like everything they make is actually awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the vibe there is awesome. They've got like food trucks in the beer garden.
Yeah.
And you can also order from like the pub kitchen.
Nice. Yeah.
It's true what they say. Broome's just this weird place where everything's just awesome there.
Yeah.
It's just a great vibe, and like you can see why people would want to move there.
Yeah, nice.
CB Co down near Margaret River.
Yeah, Colonial Brewing Co. Yep, fantastic beers and
yeah, they do a lot of good beers, and they've got essentially it's set on like the back of a farm, and the back of their brewery is like big open greens where you can have picnics and stuff. But then they've got like a little boardwalk over the dam at the back of the farm, and you can just get a bucket of balls like a driving range.
Oh yeah, you're telling me about this. You pretty much got like a what do they call it, like a frog hole thing where you can
you just grab they loan you clubs
and smack balls into the water.
It's $5 or $10 maybe for a bucket of balls.
Yeah.
You just smack balls into the dam drinking beers.
Yeah,
that was cool. With like something different that not every other place is doing.
The golf balls float, don't they? So do they?
I think they sink.
So this whole dam just completely lined to the bottom with golf balls eventually.
I think they would have some sort of way of getting them back.
Yeah.
Might even send a diver in there with a bucket or something.
Yeah, they used to have one at a golf course just north of here at Mystic Sands, and it had a 1 metre by 1 metre square, and you had to try and chip it into there, and you could. The money for the bucket of balls was the kitty.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, almost like those raffle things you see at the pub, like a Jaggy Joker or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like that, and you could win it, but it was good fun because you could just get blind at the bar and smack them off. They had like a whole tea at the back of the bar.
That's cool.
But I never thought. This was years ago. I only went there when I was in high school, sort of thing. But I never thought how to actually get the balls back. Anyway.
Yeah, I think they use a diver. Some kid on school holidays. Maybe.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, some questionable workplace on safety.
Like they're probably our top 2 breweries we've been to.
Yeah, which is very different from iconic pubs. That's a very different thing.
Actually, the one in Bright is good too. The Bright Brewery, Bright Alpine Brewery or something like that.
Yeah.
They're right on the back of the river in town there, and you can sit outside. You can take your dog.
Yeah.
All 3 of these you can take your dog to, which has been awesome.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
But then pubs, Daily Waters is probably one of the most iconic in Australia.
Yeah.
They've got like shit hanging from the walls, stuff hanging from the ceiling. There's seems to be this weird culture in outback pubs where like girls must go there, get blind, and staple their bra to the roof.
Yeah.
You just walk in and see all these bras hanging everywhere, and you're like, yeah, right.
It's either that or stickers, blokes putting stickers up.
Yeah. Daily Waters has got a bit of everything. There's like hats and stickers and bras and T-shirts everywhere. Yeah. So that was pretty cool. Dargo's amazing.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
I know where
I see the bumper sticker all the time, but I don't really know where it is.
Yeah, so High Country, Victoria.
Yeah, nice.
It's pretty much as close to you get as the middle of the High Country.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. They've got so much memorabilia in there. They've got like thousands of stubby coolers lining the walls and then stuff on the ceilings and deer mounts up above the fireplace.
Yeah, nice.
It's such a cozy pub. Like you go there in any time of year and the fire's going. It's just brilliant.
Awesome. There's heaps of little ones in the back of places. You always get these big name ones like Lion's Den and this and that. You know, sometimes there's some nice country pubs out in the back of the cane fields here and all sorts of stuff. And there used to be one out McKinley, Kynuna way, out that northwest Queensland way, where it was, I think it was a pub where they maybe filmed part of Mad Max or something like that. One of those movies, I can't remember which one it is, but it's one of those iconic ones. But not as famous as some of these other ones where, you know, everyone goes to, but still really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
There's so many though. Like we've been to that many pubs.
Yeah.
And they're all iconic in their own way. Like
there's so many. Even there's one in Ingham as you go south, Lee's Hotel or whatever I think it's. I think it's the original pub with no beer.
Yeah, right. That's cool.
I think that's it. There's 2 pubs I think that argue over that saying. I can't remember how the story goes, but one of them argues that they're the one and not the other one. I don't know. Is it out of a Slim Dusty song maybe? Yeah. Yeah, something like that.
Pub with no beer.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about them, but there's so many other ones you never hear about that much compared to Lion's Den and all these other ones. But you know,
and that's the thing. Country pubs in the middle of nowhere are often the best, and they're not iconic or famous or anything, but you go there and just have a great time with cold beer. Yeah, nice. Tambo pub.
Tambo, where's Tambo?
Out Western Queensland. So.
Yeah.
It's out Longreach, Winton way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we went out there and they've got chicken racing.
Oh yeah.
You might have heard of it. They're kind of famous for it.
Yeah.
Old mate who runs the pub goes out the back every night at like 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And they grab all these chickens and they've got them all like hair dyed in different colours.
Okay.
And they auction off the chickens. So you bid from $1 up to, I think the biggest night they had there was like $3,500 or something.
Yeah.
And they donate half that money to charity.
Oh, nice.
And then the winning chicken gets to keep the other half.
Oh, yeah.
So we were there and it was Alex's birthday. She turned 30. And we're like, oh, we got to bid on a chicken. And they've all got like funny names. And the one we bid on was like dyed bright pink and it was called Pink Bits. So we bid on Pink Bits. I think we paid $50 or $60 for it.
Yeah.
And I think it came second.
Yeah.
So that hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
But then, the winner got like $180 the night we were there. They donate the rest. I think it was like Dolly's Dream and another one.
Yeah.
Might have even been RFDS. There's a lot of RFDS support out that way.
Yeah. Well, I guess
every town's got their own.
They sort of live by it.
Charity.
If things go pear-shaped, that's the only way they're getting out half the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do an amazing job.
Yeah, awesome. And being that you've only got a month on the road left now, so heading south down the east coast, I guess to cap off breweries and that, you're saying you want to go check out probably the Bundy Rum distillery if you get through Bundaberg. So
I'd love to go to the Bundy Rum distillery. That's iconic, and I wouldn't say big rum drinkers, but probably drink more of that than any other spirit sort of thing.
Yeah.
So we'd love to go there. Your mate's supposed to be pretty good down on the sunny coast.
Oh, yeah. Yep. There's heaps in that southeast Queensland region. Like I get invited through the beer review stuff every now and then to some night thing they've got on, but they're always too far away because they give you free tickets and everything, but they don't cover travel. And
it's tricky to get there for one night.
Turns out a couple of grand to go around. Yeah, by the time I get flights and accommodation, you're looking at a couple of grand just to go down for a night at a brewery. Yeah. Yeah.
And we're going to be stopping in at the Caxton and having a bloke.
Yeah, nice.
I've been everywhere, haven't been able to find bloke beer, so we're going to go and see if we run into the BBB lads and
nice.
Yeah, get a bloke down there.
Yeah, that's it. It's only in some random bottle shops up here.
Yeah.
It's like Thirsty Camel and Celebrations and maybe one of those non-mainstream ones. It's not really in...
It's not like a
I don't think it's in Dan's that much. Yeah. But no, not a bad beer. Really malty sort of lager.
Yeah, okay.
But they're not bad.
Yep.
Cool. So obviously, like I said, a month remaining on the road. So you're sort of coming towards the end of it. So you're sort of, punching down the east coast until you get somewhere in to cut across to Mexico, I guess.
Yeah. Thanks for the reality check. Only a month to go.
Yeah.
I was really setting into this rife on the road. Yeah. So we're heading down the east coast pretty much from here. We're near Townsville at the moment, and we'll be heading south, pretty much following the coast all the way down till just north of Sydney somewhere.
Yeah.
And then we're going to cut inland through the Blue Mountains, trying to avoid Sydney because I'm really...
cut across before Newcastle or something. Or
yeah, I think just south of there. We've got some
Newcastle.
family to see, and then we're going to cut through the Blue Mountains down into sort of central New South, and then end up on the Murray back home where we used to go camping a fair bit. We've got some more family there. Yeah. And then we'll be back home and moving from our shipping container into our house
back to reality.
Yeah.
So...
the cold reality.
Yeah.
We got a text from Mum the other day and it was like -4 back home in the morning.
Oh, horrible.
Yeah. I think it got down to 23 that night when we were up the Cape. Couldn't believe it.
It's probably one of the coldest days in Townsville for the year up here, so you got a bit of a warm up to it, but it's cold for me, but obviously probably not that cold for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So plans after the big lap is over, I guess, back to reality a bit. So I guess, back into the house, back into normal work.
Yep. Yeah, so we've got work lined up for when we get home. We'll be back working full time again, but...
Be a bit of a transition, 18 months doing this sort of lifestyle. It's a significant change. Yeah,
it'll be a big change, but I mean, it's still going back to familiarity. We're back in our old house.
Yeah, that's good.
Doing a pretty similar job to before.
And pros and cons, I guess. There's highlights to living on the road, but not all of it's easy.
Yeah.
You know, just being able to be in a warm bed, get up and the floor's warm.
Yeah.
You know, and just go out and instantly have hot water and make a coffee.
Yeah. You get up and go to work in the morning. You don't have to pack up your house before you go anywhere. It's going to be easy in that way, but also getting up and doing it day in, day out is going to be a struggle.
It's almost just fancy homelessness, really. Like, you're just putting everything back in your shopping trolley and then moving each day. Like, yeah. Save all your money to live like a homeless person.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's actually, being homeless is expensive.
It is. Yeah, very.
And I don't know how we're going to find time to work back home, to be honest. We're so busy on the road. Like, I don't know how I ever found time to go to work before.
Yeah.
Like, what's all this about?
Yeah, that's it. You might have to do one of them side hustle, mate, and start selling water filters and never have to work again.
Yeah, that's the go.
That's the way to do it.
Never work a day in your life.
Yeah. So that'll be a good transition. So then I guess you go back to the normal, weekend warrior and sort of annual leave trips. So
yeah. So we'll still be doing trips. Our favourite place to go is in the high country, and it's kind of funny. Like, we used to go there a fair bit when we were back home. We've been all the way around Australia and seen all these other highlights of places. And one of the favourite parts of our trip was when we went in the high country with friends on our way passing back through Victoria over summer.
Yeah.
So it sort of does ring home a little bit that it's not always that bad where you are. And we do want to move from where we are, but probably not too far down the road, and maybe
not in a state or anything like.
No.
Like just to a different suburb sort of thing, or a different house.
Yeah. Different area, probably closer to the high country than where we are now.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful where we are. We can't really complain.
Yeah, nice.
We did want to move interstate, but then I don't know. We're up the Cape, and it was like 95% humidity and 35 during the day, and like 28 at night. We're like, I don't know if I could do this full time.
Crosses my mind up here. Like, I talked to my wife, I'm like, I don't know if I'd retire up here. I think I'd creep a little bit further south.
Yeah.
Not too far where it's going to be cold, but maybe just a little bit. Like, it just gets a bit intense up here sometimes in summer. Especially if I like doing projects in the shed and that sort of stuff. It's just a bit unbearable.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, our whole goal of setting off for this trip was also to find somewhere, if we don't want to go back home, where would we want to move to? And we found heaps of places that are nice enough to want to move to, but then it's a big expense and you've got to uproot your whole life. And then there's still something we could pick about everywhere where we weren't 100% happy.
Yeah.
So I think for the meantime, we'll go back home and settle in, do the house up and sell it, and then decide. But we haven't seen that much of Queensland yet either, so who knows, we might end up down in Central Coast somewhere, or hinterland, something like that.
Yeah, wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so once you get home, obviously a few sort of back to your old haunts with usual trips you used to do before the lap. But after the big lap, is there any more bucket list places in Australia, or do you more look like overseas trips or something? Like, what do you do there?
Overseas would be cool.
Yeah.
I've even spoken to my cousin about it back home. He's right into touring and off-road stuff like we are. And we both love to go to New Zealand one day.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it'd be hard, I think, to go over there and do it in a camper van or something. Like, you see a lot of backpackers do here. You can't really get everywhere, and it's not familiar with your setup. But if we could get enough time off work or save up and take another 6 months off or something, I'd love to put the car on the boat, take it over there and actually do it with your setup.
Yeah.
You know, you can get everywhere, and it's all familiar. You got your own camping gear.
Yeah.
Instead of buying or hiring stuff over there.
I see people do that. They build certain rigs and you're stuck to a certain dimension because it fits in a 20-foot high cube.
Yeah.
And it makes it pretty economical and easy to get from country to country if they do the full, like, world travelling sort of thing.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the Cruiser would fit in a high cube, like, if we put it in there.
Yeah, especially because it's not, big lift or anything like that.
Yeah, it's not super tall. Like, we fit... we took the antenna off the bull bar when we went on the Spirit of Tassie, and we fit under 2.1 metres, like in a normal car spot.
Yeah,
so.
that'd be it, And they're not that wide, so...
No, they're not that wide. I'll probably fold the mirrors in or take them off.
Yeah, awesome. I'll be keen to see what you sort of get up to. I'm keen to see how the transition goes back to normal life, so I'll have to keep an eye on your Instagram for that and stay in touch.
There's definitely going to be more work going on. Like, I've decided once we get home, I like the canopy setup. I might change a couple of things, how we spoke about in the other video, but I'd like to build a new tray for it.
Yep.
There's always going to be more work going on in the car, and once I get my container moved out of that, and then I'll start using that as a shed and start doing a bit more shed sort of content, like welding stuff and similar to what you've done.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, cool. Right. Well, that's the list of all the questions I had. But yeah, thanks for adjusting your trip, mate. I know we had to make the dates work that we could catch up. So yeah, thanks for hanging around and meeting up for the weekend. Cool. It's been a blast.
Happy to do it.
Yeah, great to meet you guys and hopefully stay in touch. If people want to ask you questions about any of the stuff we covered, or maybe stuff we obviously missed, or even just follow your rest of your trip home and what you get up to after that, where's the easiest place to find you?
Easiest place is just find us on Instagram. It's at usandapup, all one word. There's no underscore or anything like that. But
I'll put the thingy up here somewhere in the corner, and I'll put a link down below.
And I'll jump in the comments and answer any other questions on Kenny's video on YouTube as well.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, easiest thing is to just DM us on Instagram, and like, I'm happy to help anyone that wants to get out on the road, and tips and advice and questions about work or budget or stuff like that.
Yeah, awesome. Right, mate. Well, thanks for having a yarn.
Too easy. Cheers.
Cheers.